I can call you Rosie now, right? You've given us a green light to call you Rosie.
Yes, you may.
Very generous.
Have you listened to the album?
Come on.
Then you may.
Thank you for flying in. Thank you for doing this. I know it's hectic right now. You've got a lot going on. You asked for this, but doesn't change the fact that you've still got a lot going on and you made time for us. So we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. No, I'm super grateful that you guys have invited me to talk about my album, and I'm like pinching myself. I feel like this is a dream.
I mean, I think that's what happens when you put a lot of your heart and soul into something, and then all of a sudden it arrives. And we all assume it arrives for us, but it also arrives for you, because in a way, I guess it doesn't feel real until people listen to it in some respects.
No, literally, when I walked in, you guys were playing the song. I've never had somebody play it for me. I would always play it for somebody. I don't think I noticed how much I've been waiting for this moment until I hear like you guys play it. And in New York, I had my first promotion week, and can I tell you the craziest story?
Tell me all the crazy stories.
It was just so funny because I was doing the first interview, and it was not, it was like one of those pre-interviews. So I guess production asked for like a pre-interview.
Oh, like tell us some stories you're going to tell us before we do the thing with the stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. That was the first thing I did as soon as I landed in New York. And I woke up and I was like, okay, first thing. And then we get on the Zoom, and then they're like, how do you feel about promoting the album and about your album coming out? And I was just like, and I ended up crying.
I was going to say, you burst into tears.
I ended up crying for the whole 30 minutes. I was actually like, it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever
I'm laughing because I'm not surprised. It's such a big question for someone who's spent a year or 2 years making something, and it's such a simple observation, but it's like, I really wasn't ready for the simplest question.
Yeah, no, that's when I noticed. I was like, okay, I can give credit for myself, because I think obviously it was not a smooth ride, and it just showed how much, time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears I actually did put into it. And that was the moment where I allowed myself to acknowledge the fact that I am really proud that I'm at the point of promoting it. And so it really means a lot to me, apparently. Apparently.
Internally, your voice is telling you it means a lot to you, and we're experiencing that. I mean, it makes me think about like the observation that some artists have, which is when I make something, I'm going through it. When I'm ready to release it, I'm through it. And then we sort of get to listen to it for the first time, and we assume you're still going through it. Are you a different person today, now the album is coming out, than you were when you started making it?
Oh, completely. I literally think this album is just like a little capsule. It's like a little, when I listen to my songs, I remember every minute of it, and I like went through everything. And without this album, I think I would have carried a lot of the past version of myself through till today. Because to be honest, like I'm not doing, like, it was like a therapy session. And so I've bottled it up into this thing called Rosie. And so I've walked out of every single studio with a story and walked out, but then like I left it in that song. There are some days where it's like, okay, don't like that song. Yeah. And the emotion bounced back into me. Yeah. And I felt like that didn't really get the story out. So in that case, those songs actually didn't make it to the album, but every single song that has made it to the album
served a purpose.
Yeah. Served a purpose in my life, actually and literally. And there are days where I'm like, wow, I don't talk about that anymore. Like ever since that session, I don't talk about it anymore.
Until today, we're going to go through song by song, taking her back through every single painful trauma. That's my job. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here we go. It's Rosie, the revised experience. No, I mean, some things will definitely maybe come up in conversation because the music is very real. And I said that to you when I met you before the cameras. I said, in the performance of these songs, which I'm really attuned to, is how someone sounds when they're singing them. There are times I feel like you've caught yourself by surprise with the emotion of performing that particular song. Do you remember those moments where you sang outside of what would be considered a conventional performance, and it was like, oh, I'm emoting something I wasn't expecting?
Oh yeah, I think the more and more I was in the studio, I learned slowly. So at first it started with a lot of anxiety, because there's this thing I say to myself. I was like, I always think confidence equals like, I can only think of a Korean word right now.
Just say it.
실력, which is talent. I honestly think the more confidence I have, the more space I get to show talent. Like I don't think talent is such a it's a bit of an interesting word, because the more confidence somebody has, like you can play around with it and stuff. But at the very beginning, I didn't have much of it because I had so much anxiety in the studio, and I was not comfortable in the studio yet about being vulnerable and showing my emotions. The most fun part about this whole process of creating this album is that I think near the end of it, I kind of mastered that, the pushing through the anxiety, and
You knew you could go there.
I started creating things.
Yeah.
And my producer, when I went back to Korea, I hadn't recorded him with him for like over a year. He was shocked. He was like, Rosie, you're nailing this like instantly. You don't even take that like 1 to 2 takes and you're already there. And like the tone is like, you've kind of mastered this new texture and tone to your voice. And so I was like, really? I felt really happy about it, but I had started to like have fun in the studio, like near the end. Right now, even still, I'm supposed to wrap up the album.
You want to keep going, huh?
Yeah, I literally kind of had to stop myself. I added these like last 2, and I think 1 for the deluxe. Somebody was like, let's just put that for the deluxe then, because it's like we loved it so much. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I think I know the 2 songs you're referring to, and I really like both of them.
Really?
Yeah, and I can tell actually that those 2 songs feel. It's funny because
it feels a bit different, right?
it does in a weird way. Certainly, the last song on the record, which is the up-tempo one, the additional one, the up-tempo.
The deluxe.
Yeah. It is just a sense of, I suppose, like you said, freedom in the way you're approaching it. That I think is in the middle of the record when I can really feel, and everyone will hear that you're going through something. You capture it really well. It's nice to get to the end and feel like you got through.
Yes. No, I think that's like the best feeling. And that's when I was like, do I have to jump on the next one now? Because I want to capture these moments. And
Well, that's my question actually, is when the last Blackpink tour came to its natural conclusion, did you feel any pressure from outside of yourself to make a solo album? Was there even a reality where you wouldn't dive into the studio and make your proper full-length debut?
first I felt pressured, to be honest.
Yeah.
We were kind of coming off of the year-long tour, and us as Blackpink, as mature as we are, we got together and decided, let's promise ourselves a good year to be inspired. We've worked so hard for the past 8 years, and I honestly believe we've done so well, and I'm so proud. But we all got together and just promised ourselves a good year to work on our solo stuff. And the first thing that happened was anxiety, because I was privileged to have this 1 year in my hands to do whatever I wanted with it, but I wanted it to be the right decision, and it had to feel right. And I was getting anxiety like from the get-go. I think I had anxiety all through. Now I'm kind of excited, but and so yeah, at the beginning it started like that. But
Self-imposed pressure, though, a sense of like, what if I don't find it?
yes, and what if I don't believe in it?
And I don't feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest fear I think I had. I think doing it, like there were so many opportunities. I'm so grateful for that. But what if I don't believe in my thing? And what if I'm in a place where I'm having to do things that I don't feel like it's me?
Yeah, because everyone says it's good enough and it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be truthful, right? And so, but I just went, okay, I'm just gonna start it. Like, I have not really ever been in like the building process of an album before, but a start is everything, as they say. So let's
Starting
start
and ending. Starting and ending.
And
Everything in the middle is a joy, and you can do it in front of nobody if you really want to. But you got to start it. You got to make a commitment to yourself, and then you got to be able to finish it.
Yeah. So I threw myself in, and I remember telling my co-writers and producers, I was like, I'm so anxious. And they're like, why are you so anxious? And they have guided me through this process so much, and I'm so grateful. But I remember walking out of like the first few sessions being like I'm actually surprised. I think I might be able, I think this proves to myself, no one else, just to myself, that I might be able to just work at this. And then my friends and family started supporting me when I was like, I was still shy about it. I was like, I wrote this song with a few people, and they'd be like, Rosie, you should build this up. I doubted myself even still, but they were like, just do it. Just go at it. Just go back to LA. Just fly back. Book the hotel. Get an Airbnb. Just go and do it. And I did it. And I stuck to it for a few months. And then a few months led to like 2 months led to 3 months, 4, 5, and then in the middle of it, I found a label, and I made sure I made decisions the way I felt like it was right, and then here I am today.
Congratulations. I mean, we can't take it for granted that just because you're in a successful collaborative experience with your friends and you have had enormous success, I think we see that and we equate that to confidence. But you're right, it's different when you've got to find your own voice and figure out. Also, having a voice that you've got to be collaborative in a band, right? You've got to figure out when do I turn my voice on and when do I turn it off or turn it down or be a part of the group. And so, at what point in this process did you find a different power, a different feeling in your voice that you haven't been able to really use for a long time, if at all?
I think at the very beginning it was still a little hard because again, like I said, I was kind of pushing through confidence. Like I had people in the room who were they probably listen to good music all the time and record amazing musicians all the time. So I had a little bit of confidence to push through. But then by the time it was like back-to-back sessions and I was like building on songs that felt personal to me, and when I started expressing these things and creating within that world, I think I started pushing through. And I mean, I can't pinpoint what song because there's also a lot of songs that I've dropped.
I think of Number One Girl as a pretty big turning point vocally, definitely. It's one of those.
Emotionally too, though. Emotionally too. That was the day we wrote that song the day after I went to this event. I'd been to so many glamorous events and I felt so grateful that I'm at these events, but I didn't feel like fulfilled. I felt like I was chasing after something what am I chasing after? And I felt so empty and I remember feeling so miserable, but and then that night I ended up finding myself on social media to like,
because that'll help.
because that helps, right?
No, it's like let me go to an event, feel like I'm totally one of many people in the crowd. I don't feel special or unique at all. Let me go on social media and see how well everyone else is doing. Great.
No, and then I end up
smack that.
Thank you. My mental health is like we're there.
You're there.
Yeah. No, and then I end up looking for all these comments that are just gonna obviously shatter me. And I found myself, and I was like, I hate this. Like, oh my gosh. And I remember walking up the next day, and I was like, I want to write a song that's just like so honest. I'm so disappointed in myself that I've actually, because I think I've grown up being like, be confident in yourself. When people say things to you, don't let it get to you. And then it really didn't get to me for a while. But I did, to be honest, that night feel like I hated the fact that this one person with this, had this power, and I was so obsessed with these people who were not nice to me and who really didn't know me, but I was so obsessed with it. And so I was like, I want to write an obsessive song about and talk about this emotion of really wanting to be loved by somebody and this vulnerability, and I wanted to be so disgustingly honest. I was telling Amy that was in there, I was like, I wanted to be disgustingly honest, and she like, when we'd like
Amy Allen, she's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
No, and I'd be like, more. No, I just don't want it to be sugarcoated at all. I don't want to even act confident here.
Can I read some of the lyrics?
Yes, please.
Tell me I'm a little angel, sweetheart of your city. Say what I'm dying to hear, because I'm dying to hear you. Tell me that I'm that new thing. Tell me that I'm relevant. That's brilliant. And then it gets really like deep. Tell me that I've got a big heart and back it up with evidence. That's heavy. Because what that says is like, tell me that I've got a big heart, right? Tell me that I have some kind of emotional resonance here, that I'm somebody that's worthy of just what you see, what you hear about me. But then give me a reason why that's true.
Yeah, even convince me.
So selfish in a strange way, right?
Convince me also.
Yeah.
Because even if people say nice things, I also want to know if you really mean it.
Right. Right.
I don't know, I'm pretty
Have you heard the album?
Have you heard
You
the
can
album?
call me Rosie.
Yeah,
You need to straight face it longer next time.
Yeah.
You gotta
I should.
do that to everyone.
Oh, you're smart.
I won't be the first person who says to you, can I call you Rosie now? Just be like, have you heard the album?
Did you hear the album? And I'll wait for like 5 seconds.
15. Go in. Just go. No, I love that song, and it's interesting because everyone who hears it will be like, who's it about? Is it about me? Is it about me as a fan? Is it about me? You know, does it speak to me the way I want someone to speak to me about my life? Does it resonate in my life? But it's kind of about everyone. That's the crazy thing about it. It's like this insatiable, I took it as a insatiable desire to be loved.
I think it represents every toxic relationship. Toxic meaning like an unhealthy amount of love towards somebody or a group of people or whoever. That I'm making it toxic. I want to be loved by the person, the feeling of wanting to be accepted. It's just a representation of that. And I've not just experienced that like that night. I've experienced with many people just being wanting, like even a girl in the room, like I just want to be accepted by like she's so cool. Like what will it take for you to love me?
Which is not anyone else's problem. That's the crazy thing. Like when we get to that point in our lives where we put so much of our own identity work in the hands of others, we're missing the real golden opportunity, I think, which is to actually cut through and learn to love ourselves. You know?
Yeah, but I'm here at 27. I'm still working on it. Obviously, if anything, some days are worse.
Same.
I think I was better when I was 19. I was bad at 19.
Yeah, because we're just better at pretending when we're 19. I think,
yeah, maybe.
Well, right? We're all just trying to sort of pretend our way through every awkward situation that life presents because we're so alert, aware of them. Right? We're so like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best person I can possibly pretend to be.
Maybe that's what it is.
You know, I think a lot of it. And then, you know, you get to see the world, and no one's seen the world the way you've seen the world. And I really appreciate how this album is, there's a lot of internal thinking going on here on this record. It's not just all the things I've seen and all the experiences I've witnessed vicariously as I've toured the world multiple times and had the kind of experience only 3 other girls can really relate to, right? You know, you've really done a lot of self-work in this record, and there's a lot of really brutal, honest writing.
Yeah. I think it's just all the things that, obviously, as what we are, you know, as Blackpink, it's all the things that I would love to share with I think my fans are like, I should feel closer to them, but some subjects I don't get to talk about every day, because, you know, people like to say things and it causes drama and everything, but I think a lot of that is like, you know, voices inside of me, and it's me, who I am as a person. And my friends and family, when they hear it, and when I play it to them, this is so you, Rosie. Oh my God, this is so you. This is what we hear about every day. And it's just what I talk about with my friends and family, put into an album so that we can all share it, and hopefully my fans feel closer to me.
Yeah, closeness is a big theme on this record, right? This idea of wanting to eliminate the distance that I think really success can create. Not really, it just happens naturally, I think, right? And I think that it's clear that, you know, just by calling the album Rosie and saying this is what my friends and family call me, you want to feel closer to your fans through this process.
I really do. That was good, especially last year, a good few months where I was craving that so bad, but there was nothing I could do at that time. I just want to give them the best all the time. And there were really good few months of feeling like that craving for the closeness of the fans, and I really did channel it. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I've had in the studio, that I could channel that into my music.
So in a way, as number one girl, kind of almost a tribute to, as much as it's toxic, it's kind of a message, isn't it?
I'm like, yeah, it started there, but we made sure that it contained a universal feeling, which it is. I could relate to that after, like, say I have a breakup next year, I could turn it on and I could channel it.
Let's hope not after hearing this album's Copter, because I think you've obviously been through one as well. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, the X. The X. I mean, it's there are lyrics that sometimes just they sort of they're more visceral than others.
That song was actually supposed to be called The X. When you started writing it, you're like, oh my God, it's about time. We've talked about the X a bit too much. It's about time that we write a song called The X. But then we came up with a better punchline, so we just
great punchline.
So we put it in that section. We're like, I need to talk about it.
But it's also, what's cool about it is that the song ends up becoming somewhat self-aware too, and like at the end of any relationship you take a bit of accountability for all of that too, and even for the decisions you make, whether you thought that was smart or not. Later on it's like, maybe I need to judge people a little bit better than I have been. But that song in particular is kind of really at the heart of a lot of the subject matter, which is like, you know, a sort of classic sort of playbook done very personally, uniquely through that experience that many people don't get to write about. That idea of having something and losing something that meant a lot to you. Was it tough to sort of be as open about that as you have been on the record? What were some of the challenges you found about really writing from the heart?
I think that was like something that was living with me for personally don't think I deserved it, but it was there. Like, I'm actually shocked that today I can wake up and be like, I don't talk about that anymore, because I'm grateful that I got to do this album, because I used to talk about it so much. So when you ask if it was hard, it was very easy for me to talk about it, because it's something I was talking about all the time.
All the time, yeah. So just transfer into song mode.
Yeah, and I'd go and be like, what do you want? And I'd hate it, but I'd never like the person to know about it, but I would talk about it so much. Do not want to give credit to the person, but I talk about it, and it's just the easiest. It was the easiest. Like, I needed to get it off my chest. And we talk about it all the time. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, we're talking about the X. The X. yeah, again. And they'd be like, okay, Rosie, do it again. I'll be like,
I got more.
Yeah.
I got more. Don't worry about it. We're not done with the X.
Yeah, so it wasn't that difficult. Yeah, it was good. It was easy.
Is there a song where you really feel like it finally closed the loop on that chapter in your life?
I think Game Boy was the last one. Game Boy was the last one.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. I was actually excited that day, because I was like, I felt like I had to squeeze it out. Other days, I'd just be like, it'd be at the tip of my tongue. All these I'm like, oh my God, this would be perfect for that line. I have so many ideas. But that one, we had to squeeze it out. I'm like, wow, I've come to a point where I have to squeeze this out. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy about
Your time
this.
is over, X, you're done.
And that was the last one.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think a lot of people will really applaud and really appreciate the honesty on this record, because it's something, if you're lucky, you go through that. I know it's a strange thing to say, but it's part of the human experience. The more it hurts, the more you felt it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You work with some amazing people on this record. I mean, the list is great, but I also think it's really important to point out that, you wrote or co-wrote all the songs. We're involved in the production right across the board. I think a lot gets put into this idea of people with talent and ability who can perform at a high level, ultimately giving a lot of that responsibility to other people, and that does happen. But you must have loved being able to take some real control over your destiny creatively in all ways.
For sure. At first, like I said, I was worried, because I was the type of person to say, like, there are people who are professionals for certain things because of a reason. They're professionals, so like sometimes it's best not to.
And that's fine. You don't have to turn around to Omar Fed and be like, I got this guitar, like Omar. Don't worry about it. I'm in control.
Never.
You know what I mean? Like, let's leave Omar with the guitar.
Yeah, that one, yeah, it's all for it, of course. And so that's why, like, I was very shy, but they really helped me push through that. And they'd always be like that made me feel so comfortable, and that's how I ended up feeling so comfortable in the studio. And then later on, I noticed how much I wanted a certain sound for this album. I noticed how anal I was with that, and it was like a year of discovery. Like, oh wow, I have an idea. It's somewhere in there. I just need to get it out. I need to keep going back at it. Have a lot of bad examples of, like, that's not it. If you talk to any of them, they know Rosie says no to a lot of things. I'm like, that's not it. And it's like, it's hard to articulate it, but we push through and we always end up with something.
Rosie, your "That's Not It" is pretty iconic. I have to say, we might have to put that on the soundboard of the show. That's not it. I've had a couple of that good "That's Not It's" from people. It's definitely up there. Guys, that's not it.
Yeah, so I started doing a lot of that, but...
So how did you know what was it? Was it a feeling?
It's really hard to tell, but it's a way of executing the story. It's like there's certain words that describe it, but then there's certain words that ruin the magic of it. So it's just it feels like puzzle. It's like you have to put the puzzle piece in that section to figure out if it fits or not. You can't tell just by looking, because they all look very similar. You have to put it on it and kind of like try put it in until you realize, oh, that's the right puzzle piece. So it was a lot of that, and put a lot of brain power into it, because it needed to feel right. I needed to go home that day with a bounce on my phone and be able to listen to it.
The best feeling when
best.
it works. Isn't it the best? The monitor mix. I'm surprised anybody ever does anything more than what they do when they put things through a monitor at the end of a demo day, because to me it never sounds better than that first few hours.
I agree.
Ever. And then you have to let someone else tell you it sounds better, because I'm like, nah, it still sounds good 4 months ago.
Oh my God! Story of my life.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, and then I have to learn to let that go. Maybe I'll put an album out that's like fully demo. I'll be like, nobody touch anything, and like.
I don't even know what a demo is anymore. When you're a kid and you're making music in your bedroom through a computer and you're happy with how it sounds, I don't even know what's a demo anymore. I mean, half the time.
That's the magic.
It's the magic, right? You know. It's like Rick Rubin says, this is my vision. This is what I would like to share with you, and then it's up to you. Like, but I've done my job. I've shared my vision. I'm kind of fascinated to know a little bit about how you've sort of navigated this really high pressure experience of showing up at the highest level and performing with great success with your friends, and kind of been dealing with this kind of growing lack of confidence that really showed itself when you came off the road. Were you aware of that before you came off the road? Did you feel it building up in you that there was this kind of this hill you were going to have to climb in order to get over that?
I think at the beginning of anything, it's the fear. Like if that's where you lack confidence, like when you start something, like it's like a baby learning how to walk. You don't know, but because I think I had more fear because we were doing like world tours, and I'm in places where people are, there to celebrate our success. And
do you have time to be afraid when it's like that?
To be honest, I've been like training. We did a full year on it, so I think it got better towards the end of it. But then to get off of that, something that was perfected, every day, I had to repeat it and master it, and then we're there. Even at the beginning of the tour, I was nervous. I was like lack of confidence, and I have to go through all that struggle to be at the place of confidence. But for this one too, it was so scary because I've never been taught to be like that's not something that I trained. I trained like everything else, like to be on stage, how to everything. But that's not something I really had much help, doing in the past. So that's the part that was scary.
But when you were growing up, if the story, from what I've sort of read about you, that you used to spend a lot of time just on your own, playing the piano, and just kind of leaning into your own natural voice, how you want to express yourself, before you were even a recording artist or anything of that nature. Did you sort of find a way to do you think you tapped back into that a little bit, even subliminally or subconsciously as you were moving forward?
Maybe. I have never actually thought about that before, but if I think about it, because Australia, it's not city, there's not much going on, and there's not much, and so I'd go to school, come home, and I was just really quiet. I wasn't crazy. I didn't have crazy friends, and we didn't go out and hang out after. It was just kind of, my mom would pick me up and go home. My sister would be somewhere doing her own thing. Just this sat in front of this piano. And what more entertainment is there than to just? I think I guess that's what got me into it. And then I'd be bored, and I'd be watching TV, and there were people I'd watch a movie. I'd watch Dreamgirls. I'd watch that, and I was I was so moved at how she would sing. So I'd listen. I'd go to the computer and search chords. I had been learning how to play piano. My mom taught me, got me lessons and stuff. I hated it. But what I got out of that was I knew how to play chords. So I'd print them out, and I'd try sing it and channel into the emotion that I watched on the TV. And so, and I think probably, obviously, as I was doing that, I was probably finding ways of expressing this emotion. It's big. I was so little. I don't know big emotions like that. But as I was watching it, I was learning from it. And I think that got me to obviously practice and lean into this emotion that I have and match it. And I'm thinking maybe that really helped me. Because even when I record, I always think, what character am I playing? Where am I at in the scene of this song? Sometimes I write it because it was my thing, but then when I go in, I don't feel that there and then. So I'm so what is it? Where am I? And I sometimes have to create characters in my head, scenarios. Most of the time I think I do that. That's something I've built recently. I put myself in the scene. Yeah. And I imagine, if I'm looking here, I imagine if it's I sound like a really scary person.
Not at all.
I sound really weird.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm really locked into this answer. I'm really into this answer. I'll tell you why. Because I think that when you're writing something so personal, when you're writing a song like Call of the End, you're not the same, right? And you're hey, I've got to find a way to sort of conjure up how I felt at the time that really inspired these words. But you can't just do that on call. Actors can. Actors can find us a moment in a scene, draw something from their life, and deliver it in front of camera. to make us believe it's real. So in many respects, it's actually a shortcut, I'd imagine, to you getting to the emotional place you need to. It's a tool.
No, I've eventually actually noticed that it's like very similar to acting. Because at first it was really hard, but I kind of, I had to record like every day.
That's what I take from it anyway. I think it's a tool, right? It's
It
like,
really is.
yo, you want me to sing like I did 8 months ago? Well, what's that movie look like?
Yeah, I think it is.
You signed your record deal, and I believe that like Bruno was pretty encouraging about that as well. And Bruno's kind of been there for you at times to sort of help give you little bits of advice, or at least just kind of like a point in the right direction when you've asked for it. Is that true?
No, it's true. It's really weird. I'm like, what's happening? What's my life right now?
What? Because it's Bruno Mars and not
It
like
is.
John Thompson down the road.
The whole thing started because I became a fan like a year ago, and he traveled to Korea for his Seoul show in Seoul. And I'm the biggest Bruno Mars fan. I didn't know I knew all the lyrics to 50 of the song.
He has that subliminal effect on people, I tell you. The amount of times you put on the radio and someone you wouldn't pick, like I'll be with my like 82-year-old dad and he'll just be like, when you smile I look at you, you're amazing. I'm like, oh, you know that, Dad? No.
Right?
It has that effect on me.
And so it's crazy, but he's been really he's been the best.
Yeah, he has. I mean, but he also recognizes in you something that's amazing too, and that must be really, in terms of like that confidence that you need. I mean, that's good stuff.
The first day I met him, I was like, we were saying some stuff, and I was like, well, so do you want to listen to some of the, because he asked me, so I heard you're working on the album, how's it going? I was like, da, and I was like, well, do you want to have a listen? He's like, wow. He was like, Rosie's a hustler. And I was just like, oh, damn it. He read it, and so.
He takes one to know one. I mean, he would have just been like, what took you so long? I'm ready to mix this thing.
And so I was like, yeah. And then, fast forward.
Yeah, now we have the song number 6 with Bruno Mars. Can you pronounce it for me, please?
Apatse.
So what is this drinking game?
It's a Korean drinking game that literally everyone, especially everyone like around my age, and I would say younger, plays when they drink. It's actually a game.
Right.
I grew up, I played it the most, I think 21, 22, 23 maybe.
By the way, you're lucky we don't have liquor here. I tell you, you better get ready for every single late night talk show you're about to go on where every single host is like, well, we're going to play this game with you right now.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
So what are the rules?
The rules are, it's really simple. Just like because usually you gather around in like a circle and you're drinking and talking, right? And then, so if it's my game, I say Rosie's favorite, and as I sing, everybody joins in. Random game start. And everybody sings apatse, 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 apatse. And because it's my game, I would scream out the floor number. So I'd be like 7. Everyone puts their hands, stacks their hands in the middle. You go 1 from bottom up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And whoever lands on the 7th, it's like, take the shots. So it's really simple, but the chant is fun to do.
The chant is fun to do, and I can imagine after like maybe 15 rounds of APT, it starts to get a little bit blurry as well.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Yeah.
It's great. It's a great moment on the record, and it's kind of it's interesting because it's a little bit of a it's kind of a trick. It plays a trick on us because it tells us that you're making really inventive, really modern pop music, but it doesn't prepare us for some of the heartbreak on the record. It really surprised me in a good way when I got 5, 6 songs into it. I was like, oh, we're somewhere else now for a while.
Really?
Yeah. No, it was great. Did you get to sort of see Bruno do his thing, or what? Yeah, you did.
Oh, I did.
What was that like?
I remember the session, and it was like, obviously, I was so nervous because I'm still a fan. And right now, I'm like, I could be like Bruno because we're a bit close, much closer now. But he played like a few parts that he thought like, he's like, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that line? I was like, wow, I think it's great. And he was like, let's record. And so he like recorded me. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous. I was so nervous that because like by that time I'm like I'm usually better than this in my head. I'm like, I'm better than this. I'm just so nervous and I'm like failing at this line. And he's like, and he's vocal coaching me. Like, Rosie, like throw it out there. And I remember like I like tricked on water accidentally before I had to record the bridge. And then I was like, he's like, you have to like shout it, like hold on. And he was like singing it, and I'm like, hold on. because I choked on water, and I was like, by the way, I just choked on water. I don't usually sound like that.
Man, he's got all this on tape.
No, yeah, and then he like started like picking up the guitar and like the bass and like played drums over it, and I was like, wow, he's a genius.
He's pretty good. But you know what? I've watched Bruno Mars step into situations and unapologetically and without meaning to just dominate because he's just that good. But I don't get that on APT at all. You know, it's pure collaboration, and you know, for what it's worth, I mean, it's your song.
He asked us to pitch him a few songs, and at the time I laughed. I was like, oh my god, just even sending it, like, I'm like, he's never gonna do it, but like, oh, this is so fun. We could send Bruno Mars 3 songs, and he asked for it. Oh my god. And then we sent 3 songs, and the first thing I got was he texted, what does APT mean? It's 300. He's like, this is crazy. I'm so excited. And then the rest is history. Like, you know,
He's deeply curious, so that is definitely going to press a button. That's going to blow a level for him, right? He's going to be like, what is apate?
what does apate mean?
That's crazy. You know, it's fascinating to me that you know, you're in a situation where you're releasing a debut album, and yet a lot of the world knows who you are and recognizes you, and I don't even know how you kind of put into context, or if you even consider what the level of social media following, the data and the numbers, does that ever kind of, do you even register that? Like, what streams mean to you at this point when they're in the billions? And
To be honest, at this point, I think I learned it through my fans. My fans like put it in front of me. I'm like, oh, apparently this is like really a big deal. And they're like, maybe you should post it. Like, oh, you made it. I'm not like every day checking these like charts, but then my fans, obviously, they bring it to me, and I'm like always like, wow.
so where do you,
working.
yeah, I mean, for sure. And that's one of the things I love about your fan base. And in fact, a lot of modern fan bases these days is there's a real sense of like, we work with and for the artist, right? Like, your success is important because we want you to keep going. Where do you feel it the most when you're in Blackpink? Where do you feel the success most viscerally? When do you realize it's really happening?
I think when we released a song and a video, I think that's when it's like the most. I've been waiting for that moment. Every time. And I know our fans are always like, it's like it takes so long to come out. But, you know, when we do, they like, that's when it's visible the most and you feel it the most.
I think that, you know, one of the things that's most exciting for fans of Blackpink is that the music and the art is super dialed in, but the friendship is entirely believable because it's real. And I think, you know, a lot of times we buy into this group mentality, but we're not quite sure if it's real off stage and if it's real when everyone's not working. But you really do get a sense that the 4 of you support each other in every way through this thing. How important, in your own words, has that friendship been toward the success of the band?
I think it's been like more than I even expected it. Because, you know, usually we're in the same project, and so it's very visible, but then you notice it more because right now, like, we're all chasing after what we want, you know, what we really want to do and try out, and there's no one better to understand what I'm going through as much as, you know, the 3 other members. Nobody's going to share the same experience, and so when we do link in between, it's like, it's the best conversations, and that's when you know, gosh, I have 3 sisters that are like identical to me. I feel like I have three other twins, basically.
And it was a group decision to want to go away and make everyone make their own record and do their own thing. You touched on that before and said, I think the way you worded it was like, through all the success, we kind of had the space and the kind of, we took the moment to make that decision together. So you obviously kind of came to that conclusion for a reason, and it's really kind of, not a lot of people do that when they're coming off the back of a tour that big of only 2 hours. Like, keep going. A lot of times it breaks before it stops, right? You chose to stop. What was kind of the motivation, do you think, if you could put it through your own thinking, for the group decision to make to pause there? What do you think really motivated?
Well, I think all 4 of us are really, really hardworking, and we had been at it back to back for 8 years, and even more. Like, I trained with them before we lived with them, like almost 8 years, and then 4 years of joint trainees, the training era. So, you know, when you're working so hard on that project for so long, there comes a time where, like, inspired to come back instead of just pushing through it, just doing it like a formula, doing it like it's maths. It's like we're 27, like I'm 27, like we're in our 20s. We need to now like go restructure, grow, and like be inspired so we can be energized to do even better, to come back. And you know what we have is irreplaceable, so we're not going to throw it away.
No, it's magic. It is. It's magic. And, you know, it reached the world for a reason. Did it give you a chance to kind of reflect? And if so, what did that feel like for the first time, to actually take a step back and go, okay, like we have achieved an enormous amount? Because when you put it like that, 8 years before that, 8 years in the training, I mean, it's more than half your life.
To be honest, like, as much as I just wanted to be like, yes, I'm so excited, like, like I finally get to do everything I wanted. As much as I wanted that, it was, I think, a lot of, like I mentioned before, vulnerability. It's like starting to walk again, like on my 2 feet.
Were you tired? Were you exhausted? Did that feel like you needed to just take a beat?
Yes, on that, yes. But then it's not like it was like just because I needed to break on that. This life is so much easier. It's like it was like a whole different challenge.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like Blackpink is just, we're all wired. We're all great. We're all like so curious as well. Like we're curious beings. Some people might feel like I just want to be comfortable because, you know, Blackpink, we have like a whole setup and, you know, we're great, but we can just keep going like that. But I think everyone's curious and we need to feel like these things really like matter to us, and we're truthful to every decision we make and everything we do. And so in order to do that, even though it was challenging to, you know, take a break for a year and like do everything, we all committed to it. And I think Blackpink is like because of that. All four of us are just really hardworking, curious people. And
oh yeah, what you bring back to the table when it's time to come back together after everyone's kind of gone down this road and had this great experience on your own terms, it's gonna elevate it so much higher than it already is. Just artistic. Before you even think about the numbers or whatever it happens, it's gonna be crazy. You know, you talk about curiosity. What really fascinates you outside of just making music and things? What do you find really fascinating?
Lately, it's been like what somebody can really achieve. Like they put their
Manifestation.
just in judgment. Like I feel like, you know, even me, I think a lot of people might have their doubts about how, you know, how successful something can be and from what kind of background they come from. But it's like, even it's interesting to see for myself too. It's like I put my mind to it, even though I have a lot of moments where I feel like maybe I can't make it, maybe I'm not good enough. I have those moments of doubt, but if I just really push through it and don't leave it, just keep going at it and master it, you know, work on my craft, do it, and believe that as long as I believe in what I'm doing, people will believe, you know. Because even right now, I know like we haven't really seen how many people liked it or anything, but I'm proud of myself. So the fact that I'm at a point where I'm like, I am proud of myself for finishing this album. It's just, it's interesting to see how much somebody can achieve, even in the doubt. So who knows? Maybe next year I'll be like, I'm gonna become a painter, but I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's like you never know. You never know.
Whatever you want.
Crazy.
That's what manifestation isn't broken down into like a single lane. Like you only get to manifest this. You just got to be able to feel it. Right. At the end of the day. What's life been like while you've been making this record away from the studio? Like, what is life like when it's just you? Do you like just? Are you comfortable and you're like sitting still? Are you comfortable? Like, is there anything resembling kind of just a day-to-day normal life for you at the moment?
Oh my god, it's just been work every single day.
Stupid question.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's what I love to do. And that's the only thing that makes me feel alive and like a person.
So you don't crave something just banal and simple at times, and just be able to just switch off and not have to think about it.
I do, but my life is right now, it's for the past year, it's been my music and my album. So I've lived in it, like actually. But I have been dreaming of like on a vacation after this. Yeah, after
When was the last time you took a vacation?
I don't remember.
Come on. Seriously, that's why I'm asking. I can't even think of like.
I don't. what is a vacation?
No, I'm kind of tempted to just sit still and just wait until you come up with an answer, because I reckon it could take about 3 minutes and it might shock everybody.
I think like last year.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Last year, yeah. But I have to be lucky. I've noticed vacation in my life, I have to be lucky. There has to be like this time slot that like matches. Yeah, it's not something like.
I think that's the one thing that people kind of who get to sort of pick and choose their vacation time a little more liberally. Everyone's got to work, everyone's got to get by, and people work hard in all walks of life every single second of the day, right, to keep the lights on this planet. But I think one thing that really kind of cuts through, which I'm learning, is not how it was initially presented in my conversations with some of the biggest superstars coming out of Korea, is that there's this idea that it's all just so integrated, it's so framed out, and there's no room for life outside of work, and it's just work. And you're presenting a reality that you love to work, but it's not like, you don't seem to me, and even when I spoke to Jungkook in Korea, he was just like, I live a life, like I have a life. You know, this idea that it's just work all the time. I mean, what is the reality for you as a member of the most successful, female group of the modern times? What is the reality of the work versus life balance?
It's like for me right now, because I'm working the album, I'm always like breathing and thinking, like, and I have like timelines, like deadlines to match. At this point, this past few months has been like that. But then usually it's like for me, the past year, it's been different to any other year I've had. This I think. It was out here. I was going to the studio every day at like 12 or 2, like between 12 to 2, and I'd work on music until like 6, 7. Then an hour. I didn't really have too many friends out here, so would just drive back home. I would eat there, and then I'd drive back home, and then would fall asleep at like 3, 4 on my
Just hating yourself to sleep.
Yes, hating myself to sleep to prepare for myself the next day. And it was really back to back of that. So there were even times where I came out here for 14 days. So I booked a hotel for 14 days. I had a session 14 days straight. And I remember I would say about like 10th song in, I was like, maybe I do need a weekend. Maybe I do get exhausted. So let's cancel Saturdays and Sundays. And we did. And then it was crazy. I found myself Saturday at like 7 p.m. in a different studio, finishing up a song I started the year a few months ago.
I get it. And listen, you know what? I hear it, and everyone's gonna hear it. I mean,
see, I'm trying to say, like, I worked hard on it. I was exhausted, like physically, okay, yeah, but it was something like I was craving so bad. That's all I could think about. I'm like, they're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know what to do. Except for go eat Chinese hot pot. And then we did it at like 2 p.m. And I was like, what do we do now?
Done that.
Yeah, so I called my producer and worked on, I think it was, what's that? Too Bad for Us. He was like, we should finish that song.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of my favorites.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you love this life?
Until it's time to put it out into the world and have a little bit of vacation. I need to now, like, I need some time. I need to recharge again, emotionally and physically. But I'll be back at it. I'm a workaholic, so I'll probably already be like, yes, I need rhythms.
And it's always been like that. You felt you've always had this insatiable desire to achieve.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like that. Like that's probably not the best for me, but
Will you tour this record?
I tried to sing it acoustic,
How'd that feel?
I don't even know how to describe it. It was unreal. I was really happy.
I can imagine, especially the way that the records sound and how beautiful they sound, well produced and everything else. They're just stripping them back down to the rawest moment, given them written in the rawest time. Probably just a really lovely moment.
It was really rewarding. Because I've covered so many songs acoustically. It's just something I love to do. Is like.
What are your favorite covers? What do you love to play? Just in your own time, you pick guitar. What do you do?
There's like a version of PYT that I play on the guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, I played it for Bruno when I first met him. I was like, let me impress you. And I'm like, this is probably the only song that I actually know how to play.
What did you say?
He was like, wow, Rosie, you're like, you can actually. And I'm like, don't worry, it's just the one that looks good. It's like one of the songs, you know how like everyone has that one song they play and it makes you look really good? You're like, secretly I'm not that good. I just know basic chords.
Facts.
Yeah, PYT is like a song I love to play on guitar and officially Missing You is like another cute one that I play. And so the boys go, wow. Right?
Oh my god, you're hilarious.
Oh, and I used to do price tag a lot, like back in the day when I was a trainee.
Which one was price tag? How's that go?
Money, money, money. Ain't about
Jessie J.
That was from like
Our old friend Jessie J.
Yeah, I love her. I used to be obsessed with her.
Yeah, dude, because when she came out, Jessie J was like bad pop person. She was bad. She was like kick ass. I remember.
I know.
Yeah, she's cool, Jessie.
So like when I was 16, I flew over to Korea, and like it's like very basic chords, and I'd like play it, and like all the girls would sing along.
That was your role?
It was a thing. Yeah, it was my job. It was my job.
It was your job.
They're like, Rosie, play something. I'll be like, money, money. I think Blackpink even has like a video of it. Like we have this video of us like singing it somewhere. Like, hey, this back.
I mean, that's a good last question, which is like, you know, you've lived your life in a way. It's all been documented. That's the crazy thing. It all exists somewhere on the internet. Right? The amount of footage and content that you've recorded with your friends and continue to do on your own terms. Do you ever think about that? Do you ever think about like the stuff that's just out there, or is it just kind of, it's just a given? Just like, look, man, I did it. It's out there. It is what it is. That performance, I can't be embarrassed about a performance I did when I was 18. It doesn't really matter to me. Like, is it just out of sight, out of mind? Because it is such a unique experience.
That's a really interesting question. But I think, like you said, they're more like bookmarks in our life. So I'd see like a performance video of myself and be like, oh, that was when da-da-da-da happened. So I, like you said before, I have a life outside of it.
Yeah.
But those are like bookmarks because we work so much and so often, and there are like all these footages. But there's like a whole life behind it. So it's like I would actually look and be like, oh my god, that's when I was like going through like the worst time of my life. I'm like, I remember that tour. I had the biggest fight. You know, I'd be like,
with the ex.
Yeah, with the ex.
Yeah.
I remember then. I look so good considering how heartbroken I was.
This is the thing. We're all so scared. Like I think in certain our generation, certainly where I'm from in New Zealand, I don't know how you feel growing up in Australasia, but like the idea of the internet when I was growing up was like, that's terrifying. Like when it arrived and I was already kind of in my 20s, I was like, this is terrifying. Like I don't want my whole life documented. But I think it's, if you actually kind of just go through there's something kind of cool about just having these bookmarks in your life. It's all kind of cataloged along the way, and you can sort of trace your life.
I know. Yeah, I agree. I kind of enjoy that. Am I weird?
It's 3 a.m. where you go.
Yeah, like, oh, that was when I should really stop that.
That you should stop.
Yeah, I really should stop.
You know what? I really enjoyed meeting you properly, and I've really enjoyed our time talking, and I think this album is going to make a lot of people really, really happy. How can it not? I mean, it's the most authentic you could be at this moment in your life. You've phoned none of this in. So thank you so much for taking some time to talk with me at Apple Music. I know you're busy, but we really appreciate it, Rosie.
No, you're the best. Thank you, guys. Thank you.